It can be difficult to truly feel prepared when making cold calls. And that's because cold calls can be really short and move very fast. And you never really know what direction a call will go. And on top of that, you probably have a lot that you want to discuss, and you really only have a few minutes to work with. So figuring out what to talk about can be really difficult. And this is what makes it really difficult to be organized when cold calling. But I'm going to show you a very simple method that will solve all of this. This approach will make you sharp and prepared regardless of the direction the different calls go. And so the first thing that we're going to do is take all of the different talking points that you want to discuss and put those into a few different buckets. We, of course, will create a bucket for the key details about the product you sell and the company you work for. I recommend you create a bucket with the different benefits that your product or service can deliver. It's also helpful to have a bucket filled with the different pain points your product and service can help make go away for the prospect you're trying to sell to. Create a bucket for the different questions that would be good to ask. And an extra step that you can take is to create a bucket with a short story of another customer that you've helped with your product or service. Simply creating these buckets and organizing the different talking points, that step alone will immediately make you more prepared. But what we can also do is organize these buckets and put them together in a particular order to create an outline of what we want to discuss during a cold call. For example, we can open the call with our value proposition, then transition to asking a few questions, share some common pain points, and hopefully through all of that, you find a reason to introduce your product and company as a solution to the prospect's needs. And you could then use a customer example to further explain what your product does and how it helps, and then go for the close. But this is just one way to organize these different buckets or blocks. You can easily mix and match them into a different flow that might make more sense for your situation or your product. You could open by talking about pain points, or you could open your cold calls with a customer example. There are many different ways to organize these buckets and talking points. And the more important thing to realize is that we do not need to follow this call outline exactly, because the best way to use this is to bounce between these blocks according to how the customer responds to our questions and to what we're talking about. Now, these call outlines will greatly improve how organized you are and how prepared you are. But you could almost look at this outline as being plan A, meaning these are the things we want to talk about when we get a prospect on the line and there's no resistance and we're able to talk about what we want to talk about. But as you know, when you're cold calling, things never really go as planned. And that is because we're typically going to face some sort of objection, like I'm not interested, we already use someone for that, we're not making any changes, we don't have any budget right now. And objections like these can definitely throw you off track and ruin the plan that you had for that cold call. But here's the really cool thing, is that we can actually use these same blocks as our plan B for when things don't go as planned, because we can deflect those common and anticipated objections back to these same talking points. The prospect says, I'm not interested. We can deflect back to our pain questions. The prospect says, we're already using someone today. Deflect back to one of your current state questions and ask them who they're using, how it's going. So as you can see, these buckets and blocks greatly improve your ability to be organized and prepared. And the really cool thing is that when you put this down on paper, you'll be organized on paper. What hopefully will happen is that these talking points, and more specifically, these thoughts, will be organized in the same way in your head. So that when you're naturally talking to someone, you can start to think that you need to bounce to another bucket of thoughts, say in an appointment, during a presentation, at a networking event, and you can realize, oh, this is a good place for me to segue to common pain points, or this is a good place for me to insert a customer example. Now, if you like these tips and you want to try to implement this for the product or service that you sell, we actually have a sales message brainstorming process to organize your thoughts and key talking points. And each of those steps creates the building blocks that you need to create your buckets of thoughts and to create your cold call outline. Now, if you're looking at this process and thinking that looks intimidating and I don't know if I can go through that for what I sell, or if you're flat out thinking I don't have the time or energy to go through that, the really cool thing is that we have an AI tool that will create all of this for you in a matter of seconds. And that's because our software of Sales Scripter aligns with this sales message brainstorming process, and we've also integrated with ChatGPT so that all you have to do is insert the product you sell and specify the target audience that you're communicating with or that you're trying to sell to. And then the software will go through our process and use ChatGPT to do all of the sales copywriting to create your set of benefits and pain points and pain questions, current state questions. All of those sets of talking points become your building blocks. And then the software will mix and match those to create a whole library of cold call scripts and then display them in an interactive script where you can have plan A on the left side of being your cold call outline. These are the different topics you want to try to discuss during the cold call. And then on the right side, you have plan B, which are all the different objections that you can anticipate. So hopefully there's a tip or two in there that gives you some new ideas for how to improve your cold calling. If you have questions or you want more information, the best place to go is salesscripter.com. Thanks for being here. Again, hope this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.